Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Norelle Done, and I'm the Director of Marketing at Viking Pure Solutions. And I'm really excited for today's conversation. Team is everything, making culture permanent at Charter Senior Living. We are very fortunate to be joined today by Kandice Alcorn. She's the Senior VP of Health and Wellness at Charter Senior Living, and she's joined us along with two incredible members of her health and wellness leadership team, Amanda Carver and Kelly Barron. I hope I pronounced your names correctly.
Yep.
What sparked this conversation is something that caught a lot of people's attention. So Kandice and members of her team chose to get matching tattoos. And this was amazing to both Dan and I, and we had to learn more. So while this might sound surprising at first, it really speaks to something deeper, a team culture that is built on trust, pride, and a shared commitment to the work that you do every day. So today we're going to talk about how that kind of culture develops, what it looks like in practice, and why that matters so much in senior living. So Kandice, Amanda, and Kelly, thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
So let's start with a little bit of background from each of you. Can you please share briefly about your background with Charter Senior Living and what kind of you're working on every day now?
Sure. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead, Kandice.
Kandice Alcorn. I have been, grew up in this industry is the best way to describe it. I started as a caregiver at the age of 15. I've held every role from caregiver to COO. I've been an independent consultant, so needless to say, I've kind of done a little bit of everything. I've been with Charter as an employee for the last almost year. It'll be a year in April.
Wow.
I've known Charter. I've done some consulting for them over the years. So I kind of came in feeling like I knew the company, but it's been a great experience while I've been here.
That's awesome. How about you, Kelly?
I am Kelly Barron. I've been a nurse for about 25 years. I've been in lots of different companies with senior living. It is my passion. I am the newest regional team member with Kandice. I just started with Charter in June. So I got a ways to go to even catch up with some of the other ones, but it has been an absolute joyride to come to this company and be part of what Kandice is building.
That's awesome. And Amanda?
Hey, I'm Amanda Carver. I've been a nurse now for 23 years this year. My daughter's 23, and that's how I keep up with it. So I have been with Charter going on 4 years in May. It has been one of the greatest rides I've ever been on. Charter brings the fun, they bring the heart, the courage, and I feel like I have a purpose here. So I support Tennessee and Kentucky communities across Charter. And I think I would say I'm known for blending high standards with heart for sure. And I definitely feel like my why is about seeing seniors really thrive in our environments that we design specifically for them. Also, I feel like developing strong, confident leaders who are empowered to lead with purpose is a big deal too for our company and communities. So I feel like Charter definitely fits my category of why, and also my category of culture. So
Awesome. We are so glad to have you guys here. Dan, do you want to share a little bit about yourself before we get into the discussion?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Dan Lawson here, Viking Pure Solutions. Just on behalf of our organization, thank each of you so much for coming on here and sharing this amazing story. We hope it's as contagious as it was for me meeting Kandice for the first time several years ago. One of my most memorable just interactions with her was learning about her gifting. I think her entire team at the time, the book, The Culture Code. I'm not sure if Amanda and Kelly have had an opportunity to read that book yet, but it made a monumental impact on my life, both personally as well as professionally. As a leader within my own organization, try to take a lot of those lessons back to create an impactful culture here with our organization, which is mission driven to remove toxic chemicals from senior living communities. And we're just blessed to have an amazing team that gets out of bed every day sharing that. And a big reason is because of a lot of the things I've learned from great leaders like Kandice. So excited for this story and to be able to share this to many people because it's a great one. And I'm like I said, I'm hopeful that a lot of people can take this and just change the way that they think about how they work with each other to all really serve in the best possible way.
That's awesome. Well, to those of us, or to those of you joining us live, please feel free to pop some questions in the Q&A section or in the comments if you're listening on LinkedIn Live, and we would be happy to answer those at the end. So let's get right into it. Kandice, when people hear that your team got matching tattoos, they're intrigued. No surprises there. What was happening within your team at the time that made something that permanent feel like the right decision?
It was really kind of a unique experience. We were all in Nashville together. We were having our very first group meeting together, and we spent a lot of time really just opening up and being vulnerable with one another. And so we were out at dinner, and one of the nurses was like, "Hey, let's get tattoos." And we were all like, "Yeah, let's do that." And so like we're running around downtown Nashville like a bunch of crazy people, like people in Nashville do. And we couldn't find a place to get a tattoo that night. Probably the best thing that ever happened, if you want to know the honest truth. And so, but then when we got back from that meeting, I reached out, probably about a week later and was like, "Guys, do we really want to get a matching tattoo?" And they were all like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so then we started like building this design. So our organization, like all organizations right now, are in love with Chat GTP. And so we are like all on chat trying to like tweak this design, build this design until we all found something that we were like, "That's it. That's the one." And so we were all meeting again in October, and I started calling around to local tattoo shops that was willing to take on a team of 7.
Wow.
6 of us actually got tattoos. We had one that did not, but we got her a matching press on. So,
Okay.
so she could be with us and part of us. And that's part of that culture, right? Is nobody gets left out. And so I had custom press-ons made for her, didn't know they even did a thing, found a place on Amazon and, ordered in a bunch and didn't tell her that we were doing that, but wanted her to be included in that moment when we actually got our tattoos. So I found a shop that would take us, and we went before our big annual meeting in October.
I love that. I love that it didn't necessarily happen on the first try too. It was like, let's think about this.
Divine
especially
intervention.
if it's permanent, let's maybe find, because who knows what y'all would have gotten.
100%. I think the design we ended up with was definitely much better than what we started with. So
well, we'll have to maybe send that around to the like a picture or something afterward. Amanda, from your perspective, what does this culture actually feel like day to day? What makes it different from other teams that you've been a part of in senior living?
Well, that's an interesting question, because what culture we have in charter and what we feel as culture from the day to day. The first word that I think of is connection, right? We have that connection with each other, and we've built on that connection. And like we're all in the same team's call, right? We're connected, but I mean more like we're deeply connected, genuinely connected as humans and even as professionals. So we were mentioning, the sandbox. We all play in the sandbox with each other, and we play well. And it's okay if you're in my world and I'm in your world. It's fine. So day-to-day basis, our culture feels safe. I feel safe to ask questions. I feel safe to admit when something didn't go right. I feel safe to say, "Hey, I need help." When I feel like something's not good, something that's weak. In senior living, I think in the clinical world, I think we can all agree that in the clinical portion of senior living, what we carry is heavy and it's a lot. The responsibility is big. And so your stakes are high. You're dealing with families that are not happy. Sometimes you're dealing with regulatory pressure. You're dealing with staffing challenges, resident acuity, all of it. And in a lot of environments, that weight can truly take over you, and it can be very isolating. And our culture is different for me because leadership doesn't just talk about values, we live them. It's not just the general slogan that we have somewhere painted on the wall. It's that phone call when you're overwhelmed. It's that phone call and saying, "Hey, I need help. Like, I need to call you. Sometimes we just make the call. We don't necessarily say, hey, do you have time? I need to talk to you now. And so it's knowing that you have that leader that you can, when you're feeling overwhelmed, hey, I need you to talk me through something quickly. It's usually never a long thing. It's just like, here it is. Let's go through it. And the first response isn't blame, right? I've had that before. It's more like a curiosity. How do we fix it together? How do we make it better? What can I show you? How can I help you? Thing I want to say too is there's a really strong sense of belonging in our organization, across the organization, not just in the clinical world. I've had opportunities for growth and leadership. Grateful for all of those experiences because they've helped shape me. Truly, this company has changed what culture means to me. So standards are set really high now, and not just as a professional, but as a person. It's really shown me that culture isn't pizza parties or slogans. It's how we treat each
Trust
other
falls.
when things are hard. Yeah, it's really how we treat people when things are hard.
Yeah,
it's whether you feel seen and if your voice matters in the room. So
for sure. Wow, that's all really good stuff.
It sounds like, I mean, at least from, Amanda and Candice's perspective, the term vulnerability is so crucially important, and not to intercede on any questions that we have, coming up, but how do you influence vulnerability, to make people, do you lead by being vulnerable so that you help feel like you, yeah?
Yes. I think they have to know we're vulnerable for them to feel like they can be with us. And if they don't see that, then we're not living that culture.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very
Kelly,
meaningful.
yeah. Kelly, in healthcare, especially with senior living in this group, the work that can be emotionally demanding, as I'm sure you all know. Can you share a specific moment when this team really showed up for you or for each other in a way that reinforced why this culture at Charter is different?
It's an easy answer and it's a difficult one. I've been with other companies where you are a person on the end of a Zoom call. You don't have a voice. Your opinion doesn't matter. When there is a mistake made or an error made, it's very punishable. And that gets you to very much close up inside. And when you start at a new company, you're scared. I started with Charter in June. My first person I met was Amanda. Candice had me on the road that day one. I drove to Murray, Kentucky. They were opening their doors. And here's this ray of sunshine that welcomed me to this company, to this team. Within a week of that, I was impressed by our co-founders, Kim and Kevin, take a road trip every year. They get in their RV and they go to every single one of their communities and meet their teams and their players and really engage in the personal relationships. And I was so impressed. I mean, they get off the bus, they're hugging everybody, they're introducing, and I'm standing in the back and they're like, oh no, we know that you're new, come here. And right then it was like I felt part of a family.
What a tradition.
It's really impressive. It's something I've never seen. And it really just makes you feel like you're part of this, like you're included. Then you have Candice, she starts a group chat, and it doesn't matter what kind of a bad day she's having, Amanda's having, I'm having. We put it with our other regional nurses, and somebody responds with, you're doing a good job. I can say I had a really bad survey in a building and I'm feeling really crappy. And there's somebody like, no, it's not you. It's what do you need from us to help improve that situation? I think they're like my sisters. So I can tell them anything I want and they're going to come at me with the truth.
Mm-hmm.
If I've done something that doesn't work, they'll tell me, no, wouldn't work. And they give me a solution. They also ask me for my opinion when they're struggling. So I feel valued in that sense. And I think that's how it is with Charter all the way around. On every Teams call we have, every group meeting with all the senior leadership, your voice is heard. So you feel value. And when you feel value, then I take that back to my communities and I try to empower those leaders that I'm building and those people I'm working with to feel like I do, feel like they can call me, they can reach out to me, and they do. At 10 o'clock at night, I'm answering the phone when I've got a nurse that's having a bad staffing issue or something's happened in their building. I'm there. and I can call Kandice any time of the day or night, and she's there.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Ultimate responsiveness, not only to your residents, but to each other, right?
Yep. Accountability to each other.
Yeah, that's
Well,
really cool.
that trust, like,
how long does
sorry.
I'm sorry, Norelle. I was just curious, how long does the leadership like usually stay at a community? That's quite an endeavor. I would assume that would take a couple of months, right? Like to drive all over. How long do they typically stay?
Oh, when Kevin and Kim are going and doing the RV tour, like
Yeah.
it all depends on location. Like it's a very strategic plan. I mean, like they have it all mapped out. We all know where they're going to be, when they're going to be at the buildings. I mean, it's very, I think this year it's starting, I think sometime in May. And I mean, it takes several months to get through that whole process.
And
You
they
know,
just
we've
stay
got
like they just sleep
70
in the parking lot,
buildings,
right? Like
so
they're
that's a lot of
that's
buildings to hit.
that's so cool, man.
Yeah,
I gotta try to time it and visit one of these when they're all there. I think it'd
yeah,
be really cool to be a fly on the wall to watch those interactions.
no,
Yeah, everybody
absolutely.
should see this. Everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's I mean, it starts at the top, right?
absolutely.
And that's it. It starts at the top, and they're talking to the frontline staff. They're listening to what's going on in our communities, and then they're taking that back and building that relationship. It's not just that building and it's all about the money. It truly is all about the people that
Yeah,
they employ. It's
that's
about
amazing.
us.
Yeah, I tell you, just working with multiple different groups throughout the industry, it's unfortunate. I feel like more often than not, you see just this an amazing like divide or between the corporate team and the community teams, and it could be resolved just with a little bit of time, little dedication, little strategy, and that FaceTime, even if it's brief, goes a really long way.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like.
Well, and that's one of the things that's really cool, Dan, is Charter truly has, like, everybody talks about an open door policy, right? Like, oh, well, you can call me anytime. I mean, the reality is like we encourage that. Like literally, Amanda set one of her health and wellness directors down the other day because they were having an issue with something in the EHR, and she was like, "No, you're calling Kandice." And she was like, "No, I'm not." And she was like, "No, really, you're calling Kandice. It'll be okay. She'll answer." And she'll be like, she was like, "She will?" And she was like, "No,
Oh,
if she's not on a call, she'll answer."
that's
And
awesome.
sure enough, like I jumped on, I didn't know they were calling, but I jumped on, we got it resolved in 5 minutes. It takes 5 minutes to resolve the problem. It makes such an impact.
It
Totally.
Sometimes you
changed
just
her
got to get on the
whole
phone.
whole outlook.
Yep. It goes beyond the title. It's what you do with that title that you hold and how you empower your people and your responsiveness. I've been in those places where this person has the title of, senior vice president of something, and they're not going to answer the phone like Kandice says for a nurse. But here they do.
Mm-hmm.
I can pick up the phone and I can call Kandice. I can call operations. I can call sales, whoever it is, and they're going to answer the phone.
That's great.
It's awesome. Kandice, you shared in our past conversation that there was a moment when someone on your team was considering leaving, but ultimately chose to stay because of this culture. What did that moment feel to you as a leader about what you've built?
That was probably, I mean, it was fairly early on while I was at Charter. And I mean, I was devastated because I was just like, I'm just coming in. This is such a, new team to me. I thought I had built this, wonderful relationship. And as a leader, that's hard,
Mm-hmm.
And then I
Yeah,
was
it is.
like, it's like, okay, what's going on? So like we started talking about it. I called our senior VP of ops. I'm like, what do we do? That she's so good. I don't want to lose her. I am not the girl that's going to beg anybody to work for me. Just so, but I also know when I feel like people are worth fighting for. And I was like, when I told her that day, if this is a growth opportunity for you and you want this, then I'm going to support that. Like, I want to support you in any growth endeavor that you may have. But selfishly, I want you to stay, right? And so like we talked, our senior VP of ops called her, they talked, and one of the things that we talked about was culture. Like, yes, it may be a different company, but like, is it going to be the same culture for you? So she thought about it. She called me back and she was like, I can't leave you guys. Like, she was like, you're right. Like, I was really excited because, I had been reached out to. I wasn't looking for a job. I had been sought out. That made me feel really good.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm not going to find what I have here.
That's amazing.
Yep.
And so she stayed with us, and I couldn't be more excited because she's doing phenomenal.
Good.
So,
That's awesome, Candice. That's a great story.
So, Dan, you talk to senior living leaders across the country all the time. And from your vantage point, what stands out about what this team has built at Charter, and why do you think culture like this is so rare to sustain in our industry?
Because tattoos are permanent, man. Like, that's a decision. And one that, I don't think people take lightly, which clearly your team didn't. And there was just an amazing motivation there to not only commit to the team, but to outwardly demonstrate what this culture means. And that's very tangible. I wish that other, more leaders within the industry understood the importance of this and weighed it just as high on their priority scale as they do census and new property growth opportunities and things like that. I think the thing that really truly stands out to me, as we've discussed with this team here, is an amazing commitment to the resident first, and to their health and to their safety and to their experience at Cottage, but also this basic understanding that we can't serve these residents with the expectations that we have without unifying and being together with this. And it's so enlightening to hear that it starts just from it's not simple, but just the simple concept of being vulnerable, right? Just opening yourself and, being able to share that some days, right, aren't, you may not be 100%, and that's okay. And instead of just kind of keeping that in, making sure that your team kind of shares and feels that, so that, they can pick up and, where you have to leave off, on some of those days again, so that the resident and that their support network doesn't suffer from it. So that's just really what resonates with me. I don't know, Norelle, you want to go get Viking Pure tattoos?
I mean, yeah, I'm down.
Let's go.
Awesome female Viking on there. Like,
one thing that is also super cool about the whole tattoo thing is, so I had said to Kevin on my way out the door when we were going to get these tattoos, yeah, me and my team are going to get tattooed, and he didn't believe me. Okay, so then we started taking pictures and sending them out, and I won't repeat because I know we're live streaming what some of the comments were, but Kevin ended up reimbursing us for that.
That's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Because he was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Like, he was like, that's cool that I have a group that like feels that connected.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
And I can't even like him acknowledging that and supporting that's part of that culture.
Yeah,
definitely. I can imagine from Kevin's perspective, the pressure that he puts on himself, knowing that there's so many people that come to work every day at Charter to extend on his original mission and are counting on Charter to be their provider, right? Saving for college, homes, whatever. It all comes from this commitment to his organization. So to see it not only, serve the resident, but to take, a whole different spin and elevate, to a level of just passionate servitude is a really amazing thing. I can imagine he's very proud of that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, for those joining us, please feel free to pop any questions for Kelly or Candice or Amanda or Dan, for that matter, into the Q&A box. We'd be happy to get to those here in a little bit. Kelly, one more question for you. Culture often falls apart when leadership isn't in the room. What do you see your team doing when no one else is watching that proves Charter's culture is truly self-sustaining?
I love that question.
I think as a regional team, we work well with problem solving and boosting each other up. Our positive praise of each other, our respect for each other. I can speak from my nurses that I support. I try to take that back to them. And you have hard conversations. I mean, there's still things that aren't right in a building, or communities are struggling. You still have to have hard conversations. But I believe it's all about the approach. And it's you got to have the conversation, but you leave with something positive. You can go through all the negatives, leave them positive. And that's how we've done it as a team. You know, we have the hard conversations and we back that up with how valued they are. We try to empower them, have them build their own leadership to be positive, because then they take that out to their caregivers and to take it to the residents. If they're having a bad day or something's gone wrong and I browbeat them to death on all the things that they did wrong, and I don't leave them with anything uplifting or anything empowering, you're going to have that trickle down effect. They're going to go yell at the next caregiver they see, who's going to then yell at a resident or not answer a call light because they're frustrated or upset. And it comes from me. It comes from my conversations. I had a meeting with all my nurses 2 weeks ago. I gathered them all 13 of them. And I wrote every single person an individual thank you note on something in the building or something that they've done that has impressed me, or how I feel about them. And that's how I left the meeting, is letting them know I value them and how important they are.
Yeah.
And I think I got that from what I'm getting at Charter. What, how Kandice shows her appreciation for us, I take that back to my team.
That trickle down works both ways.
Absolutely.
Did you do handwritten notes?
I did. Every note was handwritten, not chat GPT'd. I sat here in hotel rooms like you. I sat there in a hotel room with, and thought about it. I did 3 this night and 4 this night. And I had some that I was like, there's not enough space to write. And I've got newer nurses that I just want them to know I'm glad they're here and part of my team. And that I'm here to support you and help you be successful.
It feels good to give that. And I can imagine from their perspective that it felt good to receive it. There's something about, in the technology world that we live in today, the power of a handwritten letter. I'll do that I'll do that to kids that I coach on teams that are moving on. And it's amazingly cathartic to be able to share.
To walk into a community and go into that HWD's office and see your card sitting on their desk is the most amazing feeling, because it does mean that I made a difference. And that's what I'm here to do, is make a difference. And so when I've walked into 2 buildings and I go into their office to talk to them and my card is sitting on their desk, that shows that they valued me and they know I value them.
Yeah. It's more than just
much like the tattoo on your arm, right? The ink on that paper is permanent.
Yeah.
And it's not to be forgotten.
And it's not just a little email or a text.
Yeah, it's not going to get lost in the inbox, right? It's there. Yeah, I love that. That's well done, Kelly.
That's awesome. Amanda, as regional directors, you're overseeing multiple communities. And how do you replicate this sense of trust and belonging across locations and new team members?
A great question. Because culture doesn't just live at the leadership table, right? It has to travel. You have to take what you have to others. You can't just keep it to yourself. So being responsible for multiple communities, I believe the real challenge comes in when you're making sure that people in every community and building you support feel that same sense of trust and belonging and support. I think that's the real challenge, right? So for me, it starts with visibility and relationships. You have to have that with your teams, and you have to feel like you're approachable. You never want your teams to feel like regional leadership is some distant voicemail or Teams call or an email. You don't want to be that. For me, I don't think that's ever Charter. I can pick up the phone and call Kevin Benema today, and he will answer the phone. And that's where the culture we talked about trickles down, right? That's coming down through the very, very top. And we live that out in our communities, right? Just like Kelly was talking about, you've got to have that with your communities. And I want people to know I'm there to support them. I'm not there to inspect them. I'm not here to be intrusive. I really want to hear them. I want to spend time listening, talking with the health and wellness directors, talking with the med techs, talking with the caregivers, anybody that I can talk to. I want to understand how you feel in your building, right? Because that matters to me. To me. And so I really want to understand what their day-to-day looks like and what challenges they're truly navigating. I think whenever they feel heard, they are seen, they start building that trust starts naturally building. So there's not a lot of hard work behind it if you just truly start really being genuine and saying, I hear you, I see you. I think that brings a lot for them. And another piece of that is definitely consistency, right? Culture grows when people know what to expect from leadership. Just like the phone call to Kandice, right? Like now my HWD knows, hey, I can connect with Kandice. It's okay. It's truly okay. You know, they know that we're going to show up, we're going to communicate honestly, and we're going to really work through all the things, the challenges that we need to. So it builds that psychological safety as well. And I think that's a critical part of the clinical environment. You've got to have that psychological safety to know it's okay to say, I don't understand. I need help.
Yeah.
Because like I mentioned earlier, you know, clinical, we carry a lot of what we carry is heavy. And it's hard to be, you can't do it alone. You just can't. So I think it's just you have to be intentional when you connect to your communities for your mentorship. So that for me is how I feel like we replicate that across the communities that I support. And I feel like we as a clinical team do a great job of that. In general, I feel like that's just who we are. That's who we are, and we get that from Kandice, right? Kandice shows us that, and we are that too. We want to be like Kandice when we grow up.
Yes, we do.
I love that. That's
we
awesome.
do.
Me too. It sounds like, Amanda, you know, in saying that, when you're asking for feedback, you know, you're willing to help with anything that you receive, even if it falls outside of the clinical silo, right? It could be anything that you're willing to hear, and you're going to be their steward to make sure that those issues get resolved, regardless of really what kind of vibes they're giving you that day.
Yeah, that's for real. And even if it's a housekeeping issue, you know, I will make a connection somewhere else, or I'll point them in the right direction. Sometimes they don't need it fixed. They just need me to hear it. Right. And that truly, that's the simple answer. Sometimes just listen. And so I don't know, that creates a good foundation for trust.
Yes. I love that idea of psychological safety that you shared, because I think so many times as caregivers and on the clinical nursing side, you're focused so much on the physical safety that it's easy to forget that. So I love that you brought that up.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Kandice, one last question for you. When you look at that tattoo now, what does it represent? Not just about Charter Senior Living, but about the team that you've built together and this whole idea of culture.
Okay, so now you're going to make me cry, and I said I wasn't going to do that on this.
Last question, so it's all good.
Truly, it brings me a sense of peace, and that probably sounds kind of odd, but it lets me know that there's people out there. Like, we all work remotely. Charter doesn't have this big fancy corporate office, and so we're all remote, and sometimes working remotely is a lonely place, but every day I know that we're all together. You know, and so yes, we joke about, on our group text, we're constantly sending crazy memes to one another, and and there's times that we're just on there like, really, why is today like it is? But at the end of the day, when I look at my arm, and it's like, I see it every morning when I'm getting ready for work, and it's just part of that. Where it's located, I see it all the time, but it brings that sense of togetherness.
That's awesome.
That's
so
awesome.
Wonderful.
I mean, you did it without crying.
I know, and I did it without crying.
Well done.
I've cried more in the last year than I've ever cried in my life, but I think it again goes back to that vulnerability, right? Like, you're willing to share that emotion.
It's safe. Yeah, it's safe to cry, right?
I've never been more proud to be part of a team than I am in all my life than I am part of this team.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's so wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Kelly and Kandice and Amanda, for joining us today. It's been such a great conversation. And to all of those who joined us live. We appreciate you taking some time out of your afternoon. The replay will be available later this afternoon or tomorrow, and I'll send that out so that you can share it around. So feel free to do that. Thanks again, everybody. It's been such a pleasure, and this conversation has been so, so wonderful. Thank you again.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.